I just flipped the switch.
In China, the city of Shanghai, the huge economic city with bright lights and busy streets, just set a population cuff. It has a 24.2 million people living there right now. But get this, the government says no more than 25 million permanent resident by the year 2035. So why make this rule? City leaders want to fight what they call big city disease. Think of endless traffic jams that you make late every day, or air so polluted you can see far on bad days. Then there are schools packed with too many kids, and hospitals where you wait forever to see a doctor.
Hello and welcome to tonight's Global News Desk broadcasting live now. We're diving into a story that's evolved dramatically since 2017, which is the Shanghai's bold population cap. Back then, the headline screamed that the economic powerhouse would allow only 800,000 more permanent residents. With 24.2 million already packed in, the ceiling was set at 25 million by 2035. So why the break? So to tackle big city disease. So think choking smog, gridlock streets, and overwhelmed hospitals and schools. So the State Council even curbed a land for new developments aiming for sustainable growth. So a researcher warned the poor would hurt the most. Why? With cheap housing at risk of demolitions, it echoed Beijing's own cap at 23 million by 2020, complete with plans to relocate government offices 50 miles south. But hold on. So, live through a curveball official data from Shanghai Stats Bureau reveals that the city's first population dropped in 5 years. Back in 2022, harsh COVID lockdowns in April and May cleared out over 250,000 migrant workers. So, many never returning. So, the count fell to 24.76 million from 24.89 million in 2021. So, Beijing joined the trend when its own decline since 2003. So this fits China's bigger picture. So the nation's population shrunk for the first time in 6 decades last year. Factors is the soaring costs in megacities like Shanghai, sluggish economic rebound, and shifting views on family. So a bureau survey found that 60% of residents eyeing on one child or zero. Over 28% blame childcare expenses that eat up the savings. So numbers tell the tale. So Shanghai's birth rate slipped to 4.4 per 1,000 from 4.7, while that's climbed to 6.0 from 5.6, fueled by rapidly graying society. So nearly 19% are over 65, topping the national 14.9 average. The China-wide births hit a record low of 6.77 per 1,000. So demographers point to those lockdowns as a fertility killer. So women stuck in endless quarantines saw their baby dreams deferred and maybe forever. So it is a stark reminder of how crises accelerate demographics shift. So now, with the alarms blaring over shrinking China, political advisors have floated more than 20 fixes spark births. So tax breaks, better maternity leave, subsided daycare, but experts temper hope that this might just ease the fall and not reverse it. And then Shanghai's master plan is to 2035 suddenly looks prescient, but for the different reasons. The cap was to control influx, is about stemming outflow and low births. So as one analyst put it in, unpractical in 2017, today it's survival strategy. Will these tweaks work, or China's urban boom turning to bust? So stay with us for expert analysis coming up. So this is your news update, because the world turns fast.
Let's talk about the demographic transition. It's a huge change in how people live and die over the last few hundred years. Before 1800, life was tough. People did live long. Women had many babies, around 6 each. But so many died young. Population grew very slowly. Most people in the world were children. Then, around 1800, things started to shift in Europe. This was the start of the demographic transition. First, death rates went down. Better food, cleaner water, and simple medicine helped people live longer. But families still find lots of kids. So population began to grow faster later. Birth rate dropped to people's choices smaller families. Why kids survived more? Cities grew and women had new choice. So grew speed up. Then
This is about how death rates drop over time. It all started in Northwest Europe around 1800s. That kicked off the world's big population change. First, fewer people died from disease spread by air or water. Things like smallpox vaccine helped a lot in 1700s. People learned to wash more as money grew. They also understood germs better. Food got better too. New ways to store and move. It meant kids and adults ate more and stayed healthier. Taller people usually live longer. Study shows, at least. Later in 1900s, heart disease and cancer start dropping. Public money went into medical research. Things like mapping human genes promise even longer lives ahead. Examples, like in India, life went from 24 years in 1920 to 62 today. In China, from 41 in early 1950s to 70 by late 1990s. That's fast progress.
Now the future of longer life, some experts are super hopeful. They made a graph of the best female life expectancy each year from 1840 to 2000. It's a straight line up from 45 in Sweden to 85 in Japan. That's 2.4 years added every decade. If it keeps going, women hits 97.5 years by a mid-century and 109 by 2100. Others are more careful. They study death rates by age over the past 50 or 100 years. Their math says rich countries will reach about 90 years by the end of this century. We're living way longer than before. The gains keep coming, just maybe slower than the wildest dreams.
Rich parents want the best for each child. More money means more spend per kid. School, lessons, health. Each child costs more, so families have fewer. Time is money. Educated parents earn more per hour. Time with babies means lost pay. The pushes couples to stop at one or two. Kids don't pay back like before. School delays work, lost ban, child labor. So parents see children as love, not income. All this leads to small families, higher living, better jobs, costly kids. Fewer birth become the new normal.
This is about the fertility sea transition. Why families started having fewer kids in Europe between 1890 and 1920. Most areas saw married couples have way fewer babies from 1870 to 1930. The average drop was about 40%. Parents don't just want birds, they want kids who live. When more children survive, families choose smaller numbers. They also spend more on each child. Better food, school, health that cost time and money. As job paid more time become valuable, raising kids takes a lot of time, especially for moms. So children got more expensive compared to buying other things. Kids you used to help on farms. Now school keeps them busy and they don't earn early. Higher pay means parents kick quality over quantity.
Population growth is simple births minus deaths. The story changes by place and time. Look at the chart from 1950 to 2050. There are lines for more developed countries like the US and Europe, less developed ones like Brazil, and less developed like many in Africa. Then add Europe's own path from 18 to 1950. By 1950, Europe's finish line matches the starting point of today's rich nation. Same as Robert's same long lives. Starting points were different. India in 1950 had more babies and more deaths than Europe ever did. The least developed countries had even higher rates than the less developed ones back then.
Demographic transition from 1800s to 2100s changes everything. World population jumps from 1 billion to maybe 9.5 billion. Life doubles or triples. Average age goes from 20s to early 40s. Rich countries already shrink Europe by 13% by 2050. Families have fewer kids packed into just few years, and women get decades free after. Couples live together longer in old age. Family trees get tall and thin, more grandparents, and fewer cousins. Parents pour more energy and time into each child. That's why many choose fewer in the first place.